Our first presenter today is Jason Clarke, and it's film and video. Jason's community building efforts in London began when he saw the real need for a stronger film community in the area. Jason founded and currently chairs the London Short Film Showcase, and had the satisfaction of strengthening the film community led Jason to develop a career in the not-for-profit sector. Let's welcome Jason to the stage.
The Canadian film industry has struggled for a voice ever since the very beginning, and it's not for a lack of talent or ambition. Canada has supplied the movies with many brilliant and accomplished writers, producers, directors, actors, the list goes on and on. Many Canadian films have won prestigious awards worldwide and are setting a new standard for modern storytelling. So why is it that Canadian films continue to fail at the box office? Why does Canadian talent have to relocate south of the border to find fame and fortune? Canadian filmmakers are really left with a tough choice: stay in Canada and start looking for a new career, or relocate to the US and forego the richness of our Canadian culture. I put it in there for a reason. Canadians have played a vital role in Hollywood since its inception. James Cameron, Nell Shipman, Mary Pickford, Paul Haggis, Ivan Reitman have produced and directed some of Hollywood's highest grossing and critically acclaimed films. Actors like Mike Myers, Jim Carrey, Alicia Cuthbert, Seth Rogen draw enormous audiences to the cinemas. So why do films produced outside of the US studio system continue to fail? We hate to see our talent leave to have to find work, but we can't seem to support them while they're here. A great example of this, to illustrate this perplexing question, is the feature film Foolproof. Produced on a budget of approximately $8 million, it was an attempt to make a Canadian film commercially appealing. At the time, lead actor Ryan Reynolds was an up-and-coming and yet familiar face to North American audiences, and it was believed the allure of an action-packed thriller, given a massive advertising campaign and nationwide release, would, on par with any average Hollywood production, would spell box office success. Unfortunately, the film debuted with a meager and disappointing weekend gross of only $2 million. It had all the elements of a successful Hollywood blockbuster, but turned into a box office flop. Now take, for example, the American studio-produced drama, The Notebook. The two lead actors, Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling, were also up-and-coming stars from Canada, and it brought in approximately $13 million on its opening weekend. One last example is the 2008 film Young People Fucking. This film got a lot of attention, but mainly for its title and not the actual caliber of the film. And it wasn't until people went to the theaters to see what all the fuss was about for them to realize that this was actually a really well done film. So it's obvious to me that the problem with the Canadian film industry is not related to the talent, but rather to the audience. Canadians seem to have an inferiority complex, dismissing our domestically produced films as second-rate when compared to American films. In my opinion, one of the problems is distribution. It seems as though our movies are offered to the general public as foreign films. Most video stores, for example, categorize Canadian films into a genre all its own. For example, a Hollywood action is identified as an action, and you can find it in the action section, while a Canadian action is identified as Canadian and can be found in the Canadian section. There should be no difference. An action's an action, a comedy's a comedy, regardless of its nationality. What gives an American film precedent over a Canadian film? So, what changes or improvements can be implemented into the Canadian film industry to help remedy public opinion and gain the attention and success of mainstream Hollywood? Regulations similar to Canadian content on the radio and television may be a stepping stone in the right direction. Currently, radio stations in Canada must play between 20 and 35% Canadian content, and this is regulated by the CRTC. If cinemas, and to some extent video stores, were required to incorporate a similar percentage of Canadian films, perhaps the demand and popularity of Canadian films would increase, and we could see scenes like this again. Now, it should be made clear that it is not my intention to take on Hollywood or prevent audiences from watching American-made films. There have been very many important and innovative films produced south of the border that we all enjoy on a regular basis. It is, however, my intention to stand up for our country and demand that we have our own share. Hollywood's monopoly over Canadian cinemas is simply unacceptable. How does the Canadian economy benefit if its talent has to leave the country to find fame and fortune? How does the Canadian economy benefit if we pay American-owned cinemas to watch American-made movies? And how does Canadian culture benefit from an overload of American influence? Just like the local food movement, we need to support local artists as they are already faced with enough challenges based solely on the fact that they're Canadian. So the next time you're looking for some entertainment for the evening, maybe take a look a little closer to home. My name is Jason Clarke, and thank you for your time.